Here with Bryant, McFadden, and Emory Hunt. And if you like defensive football, you had to love this one. But guys, before we even get into that, I think we got to talk about maybe one of the biggest storylines from this game, because I want to start with that Eagles' final drive of the game. 4th and 6. And B-Mac, you've already alluded to it. I mean, you're in field goal range. They opt to go for it instead of forcing Green Bay to score a touchdown. Instead, that pass falls incomplete. Emory, the only question I can ask is why? Why?
Yeah, let's unpack this thing fully, because one, I want to see better effort from A.J. Brown, but that's not even the issue. He shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with, because you have 4th and 6. They only have no timeouts. Yeah. So you punt the football, whether it falls inside the end zone or at the 20-yard line, whatever, they have to get 60 yards or 45 yards to get into makeable. His longest field goal range of 61 yards, right? So because they botched that, and that's just on top of them botching the other 4th down series that they had, it was total mismanagement of the clock from their entire staff in terms of, hey, let's go for it on 4th down, when to punt it, when to run the ball and not allow them to use their timeouts. Remember that series? It's just like, well, what are you doing in the latter part of the 4th quarter? And it almost cost them the game.
B-Mac, who's making that call?
Well, at the end of the day, the final call has to come from the head coach. You know, if you're my coordinator, if you're telling me, Coach, I think we got a play that we can execute to be able to convert it, I have to say, okay, run it. So I put all of that, the responsibility, on the head coach. And to Emory's point, I agree. Philly actually got lucky. Worst case scenario for Green Bay, they should be in extra periods now in terms of that missed decision by Philly to go for it, and gave the Green Bay Packers prime field position to attempt a makeable field goal. They just weren't able to convert. That was the telling sign for the Green Bay Packers the entire ball game. The inability to convert or find any rhythm, chemistry within the offense under Jordan Love. But Philly got lucky. It was questionable. I think they should have punted the football, because we know long field goals during this time of the year is difficult in Lambeau Field. And allow your defense to finish the drill. Your defense is putting pressure on Jordan Love the entire ball game. If they get the ball on the 20-yard line, for them to go north of 50 yards to be able to get into a makeable field goal range, I didn't think that was likely, but they got lucky.
I think that's what's most mind-boggling for me, because you consider the way that this Eagles defense was able to shut down Jordan Love and his lack of pass catchers, which we'll get into in just a minute, but you're opting instead to go for it on 4th and 6 when you do have the option to punt. But nonetheless, they get away out in this one. But it did take, fellas, until the 4th quarter for both teams to find the end zone. Emory, was this a result just of offenses that were struggling to get going, or do we need to put some more respect on these defensive performances we saw?
Well, if folks watched our pregame show, we talked about the defenses and who had the edge as the front 7, and we gave that to Green Bay. But we also understand that the Eagles have a fantastic front 4, which we saw manifest itself out there on the field and how they were able to collapse the pocket. But I thought things really went south from Green Bay's perspective when Elton Jenkins was out of the ball game up front on the offensive line, because now you lose a guy that can help spearhead the running game. And that's when we started to see the Eagles collapse and reset the line of scrimmage. Once they started to reset the line of scrimmage, it may not necessarily have gotten back there to Jordan Love, but it made him uncomfortable. The ball started to sail out high, which made it easy for the defensive backs to go and play it on the opposite side. For the Eagles, it was more so about them just deciding, hey, are we going to stick with the run game, or are we just going to try to pick plays? I felt like they were calling plays and not running an offense tonight.
Yeah, both defenses really had the upper hand on either offense, right, especially for 3 quarters of play. But Jalen Hurts made the one necessary play. That long post route to Devontae Smith was huge. The long flare route to Saquon when he made a few guys miss. Those were the 2 defining offensive plays that put them in position to win this ball game. And shouts out to Howie. Right, you talked about the moves he made before the trade deadline. Jalen Phillips was everywhere. He looked like a player that has been a part of this team since training camp in terms of how comfortable he was being involved in the backfield. He had a fumble recovery, 2 quarterback hits, 5 total tackles. He also was involved in that play that led to Josh Jacobs fumbling that gave their offense the necessary possession to work more time off the clock. So defensively, this was a great game for Philly. They needed to do that in a game in which their offense was a bit stagnant. And I don't know what's going on offensively with Jordan Love, but the second straight week in a row that came in the words of a loss, the offense has no rhythm. Before that last drive, I had the numbers here. Jordan Love had 158 yards through the air, 4.9 yards per average per throw. That's not winning football when you talk about his skill set and the talent that he has.
What was fascinating was that, again, going back to what we talked about in the pregame show about who had the edge, look at the Eagles secondary, the much maligned Eagles secondary. I thought they really stepped up and played really well. Everyone on that back end made a play. Quinyon Mitchell made a play. Reed Blankenship got the fumble recovery. We saw McCouber make a
Adoree
big
Jackson.
over the top. Adoree Jackson made some plays. So I thought every part of this team, of this matchup, at some point throughout the game really showed up and made a play, or was a reason why they didn't come out on top.
Fellas, I want to talk about the other side of this matchup really briefly because we did talk pregame. If Saquon Barkley got his mojo back after that Giants game, and he had at some points in this game put the team on his back a bit, but he finished with 101 yards from scrimmage, but still averaging 2.7 yards per carry. Any concerns going forward, Emory?
No, this was mainly matchup based. This is a very good front seven, two very good edge rushers, two athletic and superior inside linebackers that have no qualms of going downhill and attacking the run game. So the fact that he got to where he got tonight is kudos to him because this was a very good defensive front seven. So I'm not going to be concerned about the yards per carry or the yards per carry as a team because this front seven really can stop the run because those two inside backers, along with what they have along the defensive line.
Yeah, I do agree. We talked about the Green Bay Packers being a really high-level run defense and having some issues last week against the Carolina Panthers and Rico Dowdle, so kind of getting back to the basics and performing better, and they did. My issue with Philly is that the lack of creativity. There's no seasoning in their cooking at all. It's bland. And when you have a guy like Saquon Barkley, get creative. Get him out in space. When you look at some of the high prolific running backs in the National Football League, a la Jahmyr Gibbs and what they do with him in Detroit, a la Christian McCaffrey and what they do with him in San Francisco, it's not generic. They utilize those guys to their skill set, and they provide a sense of creativity within the offense. How many times, viewers, watching this game, play for play, did we see three tight end formation, motion, Dallas Goedert, play action, a flat route? Like, we saw that like five or six times. Get some creativity going on when you have a guy like Saquon Barkley that could really, all he needs is a small glimmer of hope, daylight, to really make something out of nothing. And that's something that they have to get going on because he's too good of a back to be a part of a bland offense.
What we saw last year when he ran for 2,000 yards outside of the healthy offensive line, but Jalen Hurts being the reason why that backside defender couldn't crash down. We are not seeing Jalen Hurts take off and run like he did before. He's much more of a power runner right now in terms of where he's at athletically, but he's not getting out the back door and escaping and drawing that backside defender away. So it's very tough for Saquon Barkley because he doesn't have the advantageous box like he did last season. And we need to see Jalen Hurts get back to being a true dual threat as opposed to just being a one-dimensional quarterback, which is fine, but it's not helping out the run game.
For me, it begs that question, is this an Eagles offense that can win the way they're playing right now, or are they going to have to rely on their defense? But I do want to talk about how we did see another showing. It's just how challenging it has become to officiate the tush push. But did this game just feed into the future of what this tush push might become or might not no longer be?
As a kid, I was always rational and dealt with logic. Like, is on, is off. Is offsides, is false start. Because I need to know, because how many times we watch this tush push or any quarterback sneak or any just regular scrimmage play?
I mean, that's egregious.
I mean, they're like 5 yards in the secondary now and before they snap the ball. Like,
also, too,
we watching this.
A non-call with Green Bay on their fourth down attempt where their whole left side was offsides as well. So maybe it just was a bad day for the officials, but you cannot miss.
You can't.
You can't.
Especially with these two teams.
Yes,
knowing their
these two
history.
teams and knowing the history of the tush push with either side. And for us having the bird's eye view, we see it playing this day. And one would think one of these officials would see the offside penalty that was a no call. And to Kiana's key question, I think what we saw happen weeks ago with Philly and the Giants, when they said they stopped momentum, blew the play dead, no one else heard a whistle, a fumble that the Giants never got it. And then you talk about what happened today along with what everything else that has been tied to this play. This could be the final year that we see the tush push because of how difficult it is for officials to do their job flawlessly, and then how much of an issue it's causing other teams when things like this don't get called, and now you're going crazy over the officials.
While we're at it, is 0 on the play clock 0 on the play clock? Because that's another one. Like, is it 0 or is it not 0? 'Cause,
0 and a tick.
Bingo. Like, no, it got to be 0. Just like offsides got to be offsides. Like, you're looking right at it.
Yeah, it's a bad day, I think, for the tush push. Maybe a bad day, as you guys say, for officiating, but also a bad day for the Packers getting the loss, but also seeing themselves sliding down the NFC North standings. Fellas, I appreciate you guys stopping by with that insight. But good day for the Eagles. You know it's always a good day for the Eagles.
Coming after what I said.
But this
Right after that bye.
week.
This was a good matchup, though.
Oh, here you go.
Want to give some background to that statement? We
Who
talked
Steelers
about
quarterback was in 2022?
Kenny Pickett.
All right, now.
All right, so the argument is Eagles 5-0 now after a bye. Maybe one side of the argument is it's who they're playing, but another side of the
A win
argument.
is a win.
Hey, a win is a win, and Eagles got themselves one. It's Monday night.